On. This afternoon, we're interviewing David Finley Rector. David was born in Cooksville, Tennessee on February 10th, 1945. He served in the United States Army and achieved the rank of E5. He was in the service from 965 to 1967. He served in Vietnam and was involved in many operations there in the Armored Personnel Cavalry Regiment. This interview is being done for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project and the Miami County Veterans History Project, sponsored by American Legion Post 43 in Troy, Ohio. Today's date is March the 28th, 2013. We're interviewing at Springmead Retirement Center in Tip City, Ohio. My name is Robert J. Shook. I'm assisted by Paul Holt of the Miami County Veterans History Project. David, good having you here today. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Cooksville, Tennessee, the good fishing area, right?
Yeah.
I'd like for you to start right from the beginning for us today, David. Start where you were born. Again, I said that, but you go ahead and talk about your mom and dad, your family, brothers, sisters, anybody that was in the military that you want to chat about, and take us right on through then schooling and then the nice welcome notice you got from Uncle Sam to draft you in the military service and all your training, and make sure you give us dates and times. Don't have to be exact, but maybe months and so forth, because the sequence will always be there as we go through. All right? Okay, you're on, my friend.
I was born in Cookeville, Tennessee, to Larman and Prada Rector. I was born at home in a little small house, and we were sharecroppers, so I went to several different schools. The last 4 years I went to Bangham High School. Then after that I went to Allgood High School. I graduated from Allgood High School in 1964.
David, what sharecroppers mean? Some of the younger people may not know that.
Sharecroppers is where you rent a place from somebody else and they get half or 2/3 of what you make.
It's a lot of farmers around here farm that way today, 50-50, whatever it may be. Okay.
But it wasn't an easy job.
Yes, no.
And then I have 5 brothers, no sisters, and we never had a TV till I graduated from high school.
Where'd you fit in this 5 brothers?
I am number 2.
Number 2.
Yes, I'm number 2. And back then, when you didn't have no sisters, you had to help your mother out a lot too. So I was very good at that. And I did all the farm work, milking, slopping the hogs, and all that kind of stuff. And then after I graduated from high school, I got a job at Putman Manufacturing where they made pants. And then I worked there for a year and 2 months, and I got that letter from Uncle Sam saying that I was going to go to Nashville to be examined for the service, and a month later I was drafted.
Had you ever been away from home very much?
No.
So
No.
it really was a
Right.
scary time, wasn't it?
Right. Very scary.
Yeah.
And so then I left home on September the 14th, 1965, from Cookeville. I had a bus there, and there was 4 of us that went, and I have a picture of when we got on the bus.
Yeah.
Then the bus took us to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and that's where we got introduced into the Army. And we got our clothes issued to us there.
Well, did you have the tailored clothes or just
No tailored.
No.
No.
Well, how'd you get your clothes? Did they fit you or?
No, they were way too big. I have a picture here of the first picture I took when I was after I got drafted at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Hold that, David, there.
Okay.
And then after we got our clothes, they got on a bus, and they took us to Fort Gordon, Georgia. The barracks that they put us in nobody had been in them for a long time. They was when Vietnam War was starting, and so they did a lot of draftees. So they had to have places for us to be. So it was one of them that you had a boiler. You had to heat the furnace, the boiler going in order to have hot water. Then if you come back from the field, if you weren't one of the first ones to get a shower, you had no hot water. And it was very odd because being born in the country and having all these people, then the bathroom was very strange to me because there were 5 commodes on one side and 5 commodes on the other side, and you sat there and looked at one another.
That's right.
Yeah, the first time you've been away from home now, and you're also about a bunch of people, right?
Right. Well, then when we go through the line to get all of our shots, you know, you take everything off, so they just shoot you and had them gun things they just shoot you with.
Well, how about then they welcome you with open arms and then get you a nice haircut?
Oh yeah, we got a haircut right away too.
How was that?
Well, a lot of people cried because they had that long, pretty hair, you know. And that was it was sad for some people. It didn't bother me because I used to have my hair cut short anyway growing up, so that didn't bother me. And then they told us a little about the Army, and then they swore us in. Then we got on a bus and went to Fort Gordon. And then they met us out there, and they start yelling at us to speed up, close up.
The sergeants didn't come up and hug you and everything?
Oh, no. No way. And, I mean, I'd been there about 2 days, and we were supposed to be at attention, and I moved a little, and he told me to get down and give him 50 push-ups. I got down and give him 50 push-ups, and I got up, and he said, "Who told you to get up?" He says, "Get down and give me 50 more." So the next day, I was so sore I could hardly move. But I learned my lesson.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't like I thought it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. You know, we had good meals. I only weighed 119 pounds when I went in. Then after 9 weeks, I weighed 150. They really had us in a real good routine. You know, you exercise. Every time before you went to the chow line, you had to walk the bars and had to do so many chin-ups in order to eat. And a lot of people had problems with that, especially the ones that were more heavy. If you were skinny, you put on weight, and if you was heavy, you lost weight. Because I saw those heavy people, they just could not walk those much, and their hands would be bleeding sometimes. But he had no sympathy for them. Keep trying, keep trying. And so after I graduated, my mother and one of her friends, because the guy that I had went to school with I was in B company and he was in C company, and so they came and picked us up. And the only thing that I was dreading about getting out of there, because you know you had to make sure your rifle was clean, and you had to break it down and they put it back together, and they checked every little part to make sure it was clean before you could head home. And so I was glad I got out of there before my friend did. Didn't have to wait on me. And I had a 2-week leave, and then I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and December of 1965. I was there for about 2 or 3 weeks. Then they gave us a 6-day leave to go home for Christmas. So I went back to Cookville for Christmas, and I came back, and I finished my AIT at Fort Knox. The worst part of that was in the wintertime, and Kentucky is not very level ground. And we had bivouac where we had to spend a week, and we was on what's called Misery Hill. It had snow on the ground, so we cut pine brush to put down on the ground so we could put our air mattresses on. So.
Well, now, was this advanced training or still basic training?
This is advanced training. After I went to Fort Knox, it was advanced training.
And Fort Knox is known for what? What advanced
It's an
armor school, that's right.
Right, armor school.
So now had you selected that, or they selected for you?
No, they selected it for me.
They just told you you were going to go to army. Did any of the other people go anywhere else, like to infantry, or?
Oh, there were some people that went out of my company that went with me to Fort Knox.
Okay.
Not very many. But they had other people that came from all these other different places too.
Right.
And so then we took that, and then after, in January, last part of January, I got orders, and they told us before we went home at Christmas make sure you tell your family goodbye, because everybody from Fort Knox goes to Germany. And we wouldn't be back until we got out of the service. But so happened, there was only, of the whole company, there was only 9 went to Germany. Everybody else stayed stateside. And I think there was 9 of us went to Fort Meade, Maryland, in January of 1966. And then they flew us into New York. That's when they had all that snow, so they couldn't fly us any further. So they took us to Fort Meade in limousines. Then we got to Fort Meade. They had 23 inches of snow on the ground.
This is Fort Meade, Maryland, right?
Yeah. I'd never seen that much snow in my life. So we went to the one...
And when was this? This is still...
January of 66.
66, okay.
And we went to this one office, and he told us we were supposed to be across the street, so we had wagged all of our stuff back across the street. We get over there, he said, no, you're supposed to be over there. So we wag our stuff back over there to the first sergeant, and he says, well, I'll let you stay here tonight, but this ain't where you belong. So he got us up real early the next morning to shovel snow. And then it was just we were very small there at Fort Meade in January and February because there was nobody there, but we all ate at the same mess hall. Everybody there ate at the same mess hall. So you had KP about once a week. And then in March, they start bringing these people out of basic training from other Army bases, and we helped train them in advanced training them. Then after we finished the 8 weeks of advanced training, they shipped us all to AP Hill, Virginia to take Veitnam training. So we were down there until...
Whereabouts in Virginia?
AP Hill, Virginia.
Was that a camp or fort or post?
It's a Army camp.
An Army camp.
And we stayed there. Let's see, we went down there, and after probably 1st of May, probably last of April, 1st of May, because I know we went down there the week before Easter. We went down there, and on the advanced team, I was on the advanced team. Went down there and set up all the tents and everything up. Then they came down there, and we stayed there until the last of July, and then we came back to Fort Meade. Then we got orders to go to Veitnam. So our whole unit went, the 1st Squadron, the 2nd Squadron, and 3rd Squadron, plus headquarters. We shipped all of our equipment over there and everything. So we got a leave before we went over there. And then so when I come back, I only had just about 2 weeks then I was on the advance party to go to San Francisco. That's where we were flying out, leaving from San Francisco, but we went on a boat. We left on August 23rd, I believe it was. We got there September the 7th or 8th one, and we did everything on that boat just like we was on land. We had PT, we had classes, we had this, and we had that, just like you was on the ground, you know. And you just had about 4 or 5 beds, because it was a troop carrier, you know. And we had much room to sleep. It was a real small area. And so we stayed on there. We got there on September the 11th, I believe it was. But we stayed on the ship that night, and the next day we got off the ship, and they put us in a big Huey helicopter, and they just pushed us in there, and they say, close it up, close it up, close it up, just like cattle. They just kept shoving us in there. And then when we took off, we got a little gunfire shot at us, but they must have missed us because we landed.
So that was your first baptism then?
Right. And when we got off the boat, the smell I thought was horrible in that country. And then we went to Benoit.
How about the heat?
Well, I really didn't notice the heat too bad when I first got off. And then we went to Benoit, and that was like a holding area till we got all of our equipment there. And our first mission was we went out with the 101st Airborne, and that was the first time I'd ever spent a night in a foxhole with somebody I didn't really know. And then from there we finally, we got there about the monsoon season, you know. It rained and rained and rained, but we were always talking about, that's when we took a shower, was when it rained. Everybody got their soap and went out and took a shower, because, it rained hard. And an hour after it rained that hard, it was so hot, you could hardly tell it rained any. And so we stayed there for about 4 weeks, and then we went to our base camp was Swan Lock. And so we set up base camp there. They went in there with a bulldozer and cleared the jungle out. And we did everything there, set up our own tents. And one thing that we did that really got old to us when we first got there, all we did was fill sandbags. And then they took, then we had to, they dug a trench and for us in case of a mortar round, so we had to put sandbags all top of the trench. So we were busy there doing sandbags for all that time. And then our first mission was, after we got our base camp set up, was we went to, it was called Operation Hickory.
You, 3rd
And-
Squad?
Good.
And then our second operation was Alexander. But this is a picture of, they took of us over there about all the firepower that we had in Vietnam.
Straighten it out a little bit. That's it.
We were kind of just doing an experimental to see if we really fit in over there or not.
Were you the first personnel carriers there?
Yes, I believe we were. So after we got all of our,
Black Horse Regiment, Speed and Power. Thank you, I have it.
then after that we started going on missions. Another mission was we went to Operation Cedar Falls. This was also known as the Iron Triangle.
Now, these were all combat situations, is that correct?
Yes. They were more like search and destroy missions.
Search and destroy.
Yes. Then here's another little article about Then after that, we had, in Operation Cedar Falls, we had 39 Viet Congs were killed. We captured 8. We detained 74. We captured 29 weapons. We destroyed 174 mines. We found 60 tunnels and destroyed them. We captured 479.5 tons of rice. We only lost 8 of our people in that Cedar Falls. We had 57 wounded, and we just had 1 tank destroyed and 2 personnel carriers.
Tell me about the tunnels. What was tunnels used for?
That's where the Viet Congs hid themselves, and they would set traps as you went in, so that that you could, they would set that bamboo stuff and all that stuff on there.
Well, that they put human manure on there, right?
Exactly.
And there's those spikes, like.
Here is a picture of a tunnel that we're getting ready to go in and search. We had we had tunnel rats over there.
Yeah.
And so they were the ones that had to be small. They picked the smallest people to go in there to be a tunnel rat.
Wasn't that a pretty dangerous job?
Yes, it was very dangerous. And then I know we had been searching and destroying this one place, and I had walked around this tunnel, and then one of my buddies, I heard him yell, and he had stepped on a mine and blowed his leg off. And so I remember him hollering medic and bring the morphine. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a sad time. And eventually he came back to the States. He got one of those artificial legs, and he got MS. Then I had the privilege of going to Arlington National Cemetery when he was buried.
Have you made the trip to the Washington Monuments
Oh, yes.
with honor flight or something?
No, just, we've been, one thing about our 11th Cavalry Union, 11th Cav, we have a reunion every year.
Okay.
And we have had 3 reunions in Washington, D.C. And I credit this guy here, Arville Pickle, for, he's the one that tries to find us and sets everything up for us.
That's right. I got it.
And so he has been a great getting us back together. Our motto is together then and together now. So every year, this year is in Indianapolis. We have been all around the world, all around the United States for reunions. We average between 600 till 2,300. We get together for that. So it's really an enjoyable time.
It's wonderful.
Yes, it is. And then another operation we had in there was Operation Junction City Phase 1. Here is the name of it. And I had some information here on it. That's all right. Anyway, in Operation Junction City Phase 1, we killed 84 Vietnamese. We captured 3. We detained 8. We captured 138 weapons, destroyed 39 mines, secured and found 216 structures, and we destroyed them. And we captured 150 tons of rice. We lost 9 U.S. soldiers. We had 141 wounded. And we lost 13 tanks, I believe it was, for that mission.
Well, now, the tanks were personnel carriers, and so the wounded you have and or the people who were killed, they were in tanks that were blown up? Is that what happened?
They
Or
were
outside?
They were like we'd run over a mine, and the mine would explode and blow the tank up. So, or the 8 personnel carrier. So that's how we lost quite a few of our people.
So mainly mines. It wasn't
Right.
armor piercing shells or something.
We had a few that was killed by sniper fire, you know. Not many, but we had a few that was killed by snipers. And then we had Operation Junction City, which was in April the 1st through April the 15th in 1967. This was mainly my last mission that I really remember going out on, because we got gone, but we did like base camp duty, and we pulled a lot of, they had a watering place that we call, and we did a lot of security there. And this is at how some of at the watering place was. These pictures are showing afterwards when the rainy
Gotta
season.
tilt them a little bit. That's right. Good.
Where the raining season was, you can see how muddy it was and everything.
Okay.
So we stayed there and we did that part-time. Then on our last trip back, I was coming back, and we got gunfire was coming, you know, and I said, "Oh Lord, don't let me get killed now, because this is my last time. I won't be coming back out in the field." So that was kind of a worry feeling. And here's a picture I had Tuck over there. So when I was younger. Then also when we were over there, we got we had little newspapers that we got to read of, and one of them was the Observer, and another one was the Armor Reporter. This was give us something to read when we got back to base camp.
This is printed by your own people there of your own unit?
I don't know if it was printed by our own union or not, but it's printed. Then here's another one. It's called Stars and Stripes.
Right, that's everybody remembers that one.
Yeah.
Vietnam, your year of challenge. Interesting. It's so nice that you kept these for memory purposes.
Then after that, I left in July to come back to the States. I only had to serve 10 months and 29 days in Vietnam.
Well, during that period of time, you were on how many skirmishes then? You had a whole stack of these. How many do you think you were on?
Probably 25 or 30.
You returned to where?
I went to, they flew us back to Oakland, California. I was discharged from Oakland. We got there about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we got out of there about 11 o'clock at night. They fitted us for a new uniform, which I have with me.
Well, now, when you came back now, you had how many time? Did you have your whole full 2 years in, or
No,
you had a year to go, or 6 months?
I came back in July, and I wasn't supposed to get out until September the 14th.
Okay.
So I had less than 90 days. So I was automatically due a 30-day leave,
Okay.
come back from a war zone, and so then I got out early because of that.
So you didn't have to serve the
Extra no.
Okay.
And this is my jungle uniform that we wore until we got back to the States. And this is the uniform.
That's your dress uniform.
Right, that they give us, only wore it back home. That was it. From Oakland to Cookville.
So you wore that home.
Yes. They wanted us to look nice.
The gold band on your right arm stands for what?
Armor.
Armor.
Yeah.
Well, now, I know you can really get in those, Rector, right?
Oh, no.
I mean, David.
No way. Then after we got discharged, me and there was 2 other guys there from Tennessee. But they
Were you
were
all together? Still all together?
Well, this is not the ones that went over with me.
okay.
This is ones that I met over there. That we're all from Tennessee. We're different parts, and so we just wanted to get home. So we went to the airport. Got a taxi. Went to the airport, and they didn't have any flights out until on Monday. So we didn't want to stick around to Monday. So we take a taxi to the bus station. The bus station was leaving. We could leave at 12 o'clock on Saturday, but we didn't realize how long it was going to take us from Oakland, California, to get back to Tennessee. So I didn't get home until 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Was on the bus all that time. But we slept most of the time.
I was going to say, but you're still anxious to get home, though.
Right. We got home, and I had a taxi to take me home, and he said he would turn the light off so I wouldn't scare my parents, you know. So I got home, and it was like sort of like a reunion, you know, because I hadn't, come back alive and not wounded. That was really a great blessing, you know. And then I just stayed there, visited around for a while. Then in the last part of September, I came into Ohio on a visit because I had a lot of relatives that lived up here. And so after I was here 2 weeks, my uncle said, "Why don't you let me take you to the shop and fill out an application?" He worked for GM, and I did. So that was on Monday, and they called me on Friday. So I went to work the next week. And so the guy that hired me says, "You're not just going to work long enough to get enough money to go back to Tennessee on, are you?" I said, "No," but sometimes I felt like it. But it was a great place to work. I retired there after 32 and a half years. I have been retired 14 years. I have one daughter. She lives in Indiana, and I have one granddaughter. She also works for GM. And we had a house built in Tip City in 1973, and we lived there until October of 2012. And then we moved to Sprain Mead here, the retirement center, and we love it here. It's a great place to live. And
Well, David, when did you get married?
oh, I got married in
When you're back from the service now,
yeah.
and you're still single?
Yeah, I got back from the service in 67, and I didn't get married until 1970.
Oh, okay.
I got married in April of 1970.
You married a local girl, somebody you knew, or?
Nope. We lived in the same apartment complex, and this girl that used to do my ironing told me about this lady at the bus stop. And so I met her, and I met her on October, I guess, the first part of October, and we got engaged on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Did she have a name?
Rosa Galloway, and she was originally from Virginia, and her parents were sort of like my parents. Her dad worked in the coal mine in the wintertime, and then he worked as a roofer up here for Huber Heights when they built those houses in Huber Heights in the summertime. So that's how she was doing up here. She come up here. Then she had graduated from Patterson Co-op, and we got married in 1970. We had our first child in 1975, and then we had a granddaughter in 2003.
Now, you worked for General Motors. What division? What?
Delco Marine,
Okay, all right.
the brake division.
Okay.
Worked on brakes the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great place to work.
Is that the plant that was closed down in South Dayton, Marine?
We tore it down. No, it was on Needmore Road. Needmore and Wagner Ford.
Okay, where they're going to put in the new racetrack?
Racetrack, yes. That's
Well,
where I
nice
worked.
going for brakes to horses, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So now you're back and retired, and I mean, you worked and retired, and you've had a military career, and thank God you came back and no, you weren't wounded or something else happened. What did you learn from the military? What was the most important thing you learned, David?
Respect. Respect. I think that's what is wrong with our country now. People don't have no respect for one another. And I mean, that's one thing. You talk to a lot of people, and they'll tell you that the Army really straightened them out, you know. And I think that's why I think everybody should have to go into the military to learn respect and work together.
Well, that's great. And would you have any regrets about being in the military?
I don't now, no. It was a very learning experience. And then we were young, and so we wouldn't never think about getting killed in Vietnam, you know, because you know how young people are. Because I even volunteered to be the radio man a couple times, you know, and that's the first person they want to knock out. But it was an enjoyable time. And we were treated awful when we came back, but we did what our country asked us to do.
How'd you feel about that? The way you were treated?
Well, I thought it was kind of bad, but now I think they're doing a lot better job at that, and they're doing a great job for veterans too, especially. And we go to Branson. There's a bunch of about 10 to 15 of my Army buddies that were in the 2nd Platoon. We get together for the last 13 to 14 years in Branson, Missouri on Veterans Day, and we ride in the Veterans Day Parade. So you talk about a town that really appreciates veterans. It is Branson.
Well, you've had a fascinating career. Your stories the way it unwound for you is just very easy going through. You had so many pictures and everything else to remember, and I know your family's always going to enjoy those. Is there anything else you want to add to your interview?
Well, I am having in June, the 1st of June, 6th, 7th, and 8th, I'm having a mini reunion in Tip City for my Army buddies. And so we're going to the Air Force Museum and different places like that in those 3 days that they'll be here.
How many are you expecting?
Probably 10 to 12.
And that's going to be in June?
Yeah, June the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Would you like to have a day of interviewing?
Oh, that'd be fine.
Well, keep in mind.
Okay.
And that we could set up an interview a few of the guys. If they haven't been interviewed yet, we'd enjoy doing that.
Okay. Well, I could contact them before and make sure.
If they do, then we can send material. They can work on getting it completed.
Okay.
Because a lot of times it's preparation, getting ready for us. Well, David, on behalf of the Library of Congress, Veterans History Project, Miami County Veterans History Project, American Legion Post 43, We thank you for your service to your country.
Thank you.